Sal Pal Friday. It's Dallas week, Sal. What's going on, my friend?
Hang it in there. How are you doing?
All is well, man. All is well. We love the Fridays, of course. The Monday night game gives us a little extra time to stew on this one. So let's kind of get into the meat and potatoes of this Dallas week here, Sal. And you talked about this, so I want to get it right off the top on your Instagram, Sal Pal ESPN. And the question, I guess, is, do the Eagles have enough defense for this high-powered Cowboys offense? Let's get right into it with that.
Well, I do think they have enough defense to handle the Cowboys offense. I mean, last week when the Cowboys went out to Los Angeles, they faced Brandon Staley's defense. He was the defensive coordinator with the LA Rams. Now he's the head coach calling the shots with the Chargers. And, if it wasn't for a bad call and a remarkable field goal kick, the Cowboys lose that game because the Chargers had enough defense to handle them. The problem was the Chargers didn't have enough offense, and I think that's the same issue with the Eagles. I am very concerned after watching the tape of last week that Jalen Hurts has sort of reverted to a running quarterback. And, the one thing I learned from Ron Jaworski very early on was points come out of the passing game, Mike Gill. Points come out of the passing game.
Well, we know the points come out of the passing game, and as you mentioned in the video, 12 points isn't going to get it done. 12 passes isn't going to get it done. And a lot of those passes down the field, Sal, we saw them take a lot of shots, something they didn't do in week number 1. Now, Nick Sirianni said he drug himself through the mud this week, so he self-scouted. You said last week on Friday, get the tight ends, Ertz and Goddard. You thought they would have a big week. They only have 11 targets in 2 games combined. They have to have a bigger role, don't they?
They do. And Devontae Smith has 15 targets, but only 8 catches. So you go back and you look, and there are plenty of instances where Goddard in particular was open, and Hurts passed him up and threw the ball downfield. When your number one receiver has 15 targets and only 8 catches, that's a very low percentage. That's a very inefficient target ratio. So he's clearly forcing the ball to Devontae Smith, and that's got to stop. It's something we talk about on the matchup show this week with Greg Cosell and Matt Bowen. The ball distribution needs to be more Mac Jones-like. It needs to be more – if you look at Mac Jones, he's throwing the ball out to James White. He's throwing the ball out to the tight ends. And you have to do what Garoppolo did in those 2 drives, the 97-yarder and the 91-yarder. He was a very efficient passer in those 2 drives, 11 of 12 for 110 yards on the 2 touchdown drives. So he had 12 throws and 11 completions. And, you look at Jalen Hurts, and he only had 12 completions the entire game. You cannot, Michael, win a lot of football games. You can win if you have a dominant running game and a dominant defense. But it's very, very tough to do. It's an inside straight if you only have 12 completions. One thing I learned from Dick Vermeil, and I mentioned Ron Jaworski, and Ron was the one who taught me this. The formula for victory is the number of completions plus the number of rushes. You add those 2 up, and invariably, the winner of the game has a higher total than the loser.
Well, Sal, you mentioned running and the fact that they could be down 2 offensive linemen now. Brandon Brooks, we know, is out. Now Jordan Mailata, it looks like he is possible to miss the game. So we're already having flashbacks to the 2020 season where multiple offensive linemen could be lost, and you wonder – what that would mean for Nick Sirianni's offense. If he has to go with Andre Dillard at left tackle, he's already going with Landon Dickerson at right guard.
Well, that means to me the first persons. So Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator who was brought in because the Cowboys were notoriously bad on defense last year. He was brought in after he was let go by Atlanta. Dan Quinn, in his history, has always been a cover 2 guy. Rush 4, keep the safeties deep, both of them. But you look at the defensive profile now of the Cowboys, it's single high safety, let the dogs loose on the quarterback, beginning with number 11. They've had injuries at defensive end. So they have figured out by design and by luck that Micah Parsons is a pass rusher.
Right.
And they have used him everywhere. They have used him on rundowns. They have used him in coverage. And they have used him sort of like in a Charles Haley elephant role, where he is going to rush the passer from every position on the defensive line. And they have found something with that guy. So they got to identify number 11, because number 11 is going to be chasing down number 1 all night long.
He mentioned he's on the hit list. Sal Paolantonio, it's a Sal Pal Friday here. What are a couple of the other spots in this game that you're kind of keeping an eye on? Because obviously the Eagles offense, without 2 linemen, they might have to simplify some things a lot here. So even with Parsons, that defense is a little vulnerable, although I thought they played much better last week.
Well, Mike, I think simplify is a good word. I think you have to shrink things down. In other words, do what Brady did last year in Tampa and his offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich. Use more offensive linemen on the field. Tighten up the formation so that you have 2 tight ends on the field. They've always lived in 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends under Doug Peterson, and they had a lot of success until last season, until the quarterback started throwing into the wrong uniform. And they got, massive injuries on the offensive line. So you've got to help them out. 2 tight ends, chip with the back. Make sure the ball is coming out of Jalen Hurts' hands. High percentage throws. Look at what Garoppolo did in those 2 drives against Jonathan Gannon's bend-don't-break defense. High percentage throws. Sometimes you get to hit a home run with Deebo Samuel on that 40-yarder on that slant, and sometimes you'll hit that with Devontae Smith if you hit high percentage throws underneath. Let him use his ability to outrun the defense and to be a runner after the catch.
Sal, I know we're short on time, so I want to get your thoughts on the actual game itself and, how important it is, because Philly doesn't have a division game until November 28th after this, and there's a stretch of games where they are going to be an underdog. So how important is a Week 3 road game at Dallas this year?
Well, it's important. But first, it's important that they've corrected certain things offensively, especially when it comes to Jalen Hurts. The quarterback must be productive from the pocket in the passing game. Sustain drives, remain on the field, move the chains. That's what I'm looking for primarily in this game. If that happens, but they lose a tight one to Dallas, I don't think anybody is going to scream and yell, okay? Because we all thought, looking at the schedule, that losing to Dallas on the road was probably going to happen. Then you have Kansas City and Tampa within the next 3 weeks in your own building, in Lincoln Financial Field. And we chalked both of those up to losses. The big loss was last week. That was the one that's hard to swallow, because that was a game where the defense played well enough to win. You only give up 17 points at home, Michael. Michael, you rushed for over 150 yards at home, and you have first and 10 at the one. First and goal at the 1. Michael, you got to win that game, right?
Sounds
Am I right about that?
It feels like you listened to my opening on Monday. I feel the same way. 17 points, you got to win that game at home. You could have been up 17-0 in that game, and that's why you got to have this game on Monday night. All right, Sal Pal, where are you going to be on Sunday?
I'm going to be next 2 weeks in Foxborough. This week is, laying the groundwork for Brady's return, and then the big Sunday night football game. I'll be anchoring ESPN SportsCenter coverage from Foxborough for the next 2 weeks. So I will check in with you. That's a big assignment, right?
You know where by the way, you know where I'll be tomorrow? Fenway Park.
Oh, fantastic. Yankees, Red Sox. You're sitting up at the Green Monster, I hope.
I don't know where my seats are. I know they're close to the dugout. They're close. They're good, man. They're good. I will be there tomorrow. But I know you got to run, so I'll text you.
No. I'm good, Michael. I'm good for a couple more seconds here. But I really would love to be at that game tomorrow, and I've always wanted to sit up on the top of that Green Monster. But I heard, it's impossible to get tickets. B, they're super expensive. And against the Bombers, I would imagine it's got to be really tough.
Let me tell you, I'm going tonight, and I was going to stay at the hotel. This was gifted to me. And I said, I'll just stay at the hotel. The hotel was like $800 tonight. I said, okay, maybe I won't stay at that hotel tonight.
But you and I, you know that I'm a closet seamhead, Michael. I love baseball. And, I love the fact that you're a baseball coach for young people and all the success. By the way, I was in Ocean City last Saturday. You probably heard the story because it's such a small town. So I'm in Ocean City last Saturday, and I had a friend's bicycle, and I'm motoring along the boardwalk, and the seat isn't working for me. So I stop at Olds, and I said to the gentleman, I said, can you do me a favor? I'll pay you for your services. Would you mind adjusting the seat a little bit for me and maybe, oiling up the gears? And he goes, are you Sal Paolantonio? I said, yeah. He goes, I hear you all the time on Mike Gill Sports Bash at 3:15 on Friday. So I want to give him a big thank you and a shout out. And he told me that he was a former baseball coach for you, Mike Gill.
Oh, how about that? Let's see. He was my coach, or he could have been my father. How old was the guy?
He was pretty old.
All right, so he might have been my father's coach.
No, I would say he was not old. He was around my age. But anyway, big shout out to Oves, and thank you for helping me out on the Ocean City Boardwalk. Love going down there. It was a lot of fun. And you have fun in Fenway. And the Eagles have enough defense, Michael, to beat the Cowboys. And I hope the quarterback learned something from that loss last week. I really do.
All right, well, that's the story. Could the quarterback learn from the loss? Can the defense hold up? We'll find out Monday night. And our guy Johnny G from Berger Realty, by the way, just texted in, says, no mistakes Monday night. Last two games at Dallas, won by 20 points because of mistakes in those games. No mistakes, and the Birds win. That's Johnny G's prediction. Sal Powell, enjoy it, man.
I love it. Thanks to Johnny G and the Griner team at Berger Realty in Ocean City. Thank you very much for supporting the show. And, Michael, we'll talk next week.
All right, pal. Take care. Sal Paolantonio here on a Sal Pal Friday, ESPN senior national correspondent. Follow his Instagram account, Sal Pal ESPN, for Sal Pal's instant reactions